Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer. I do have a degree in political science from the University of Miami, which I have used in very unusual ways. We're not going to go into that. All my psychic skills are honed, and I chose the difficult life that I have had until now in order to be able to acquire and hone these skills so that I can apply them to life, to giving information that is deeper in the other dimensions that can make life make more sense and to where you can make better decisions because you have more information, particularly information on why something is happening at the causal level, which basically, thinking about it now, would be the physics of a problem. I believe physics means how something works. And my training started since I was a child, and I work with scientists and military, and they did not necessarily understand because they didn't know about the other dimensions and being a psychic, etc. And I was a little kid. So they would get very cranky and very angry, and that was not to my advantage. So what I learned to do was to sketch the movement of energy and the structures that do exist in the other dimensions. Things are not just rolling around like clouds in the other dimensions. And because of that, I ended up being able to read at a mechanical level of how things function, which I believe is physics, except I do metaphysics, which is deeper in the other dimensions. And I did that all prior to incarnating in order to be able to do what I do today, which is to bring to the table extra information. So this is a chat that's converted into a podcast, and it's on Spotify and it's on Apple. It's called Frances Fox News from Other Dimensions. So we're going to go back into the energy of sex, politics, and religion. When you think about it, we need to get a grip on everything having to do with sex because there's so many ultimate issues today that could cause the collapse of society that revolve around sex, starting with the um, Epstein list, uh, the Diddy list, both having to do with sex trafficking and the holding back of the information. And I am sure it is because they are afraid not only that a lot of important people will be exposed, but that there will be a collapse, a potential collapse of society when people become aware of how many important people we have respected have been caught up in the web of sex trafficking. And then, of course, we have the collapse of population collapse. It has to do with the lack of sex. People are not having sex. The younger the children, the less sex they're having. And so we're not reproducing ourselves, at which time we end up with populations that are old without young people coming into the workforce, working, paying taxes, etc., and sustaining those social security checks to the older people. So that has become a situation to where governments are becoming hysterical about it. Japan was the first, but the rate of condom sales in Japan is very low and has been for 15 or 20 years. And when I wrote the book that I wrote in Spanish called Sex, the Path to God, Japan stood out as a country that was not that interested in sex or orgasm. Our discomfort in discussing the physical body, the parts that are sexual, orgasm, and all the rest of that is just an indicator of how mishandled the subject of sex has been since the planet started. Then we have our religions, and we have the religions that use Jesus Christ as a marketing tool. And I don't really care who I offend when I say that because it's accurate. And if you think about it, you'll go, well, that's true, but no, don't but. It's a Jesus Christ has been a marketing tool. Jesus Christ, the face of the age of Pisces, 2,000 years, we're now going into the age of Aquarius, did not have sex, according to the Catholic Church that used him as a marketing tool. That did not bode well for sex. The Virgin Mary had Jesus Christ without having sex. Now, and as I say to people, if you were a little kid and you came home from school with the stories that we're told by our religions, and you told those stories to your mother would tell you, stop lying. That doesn't make any sense at all, and you should know it. And yet, as adults, because it comes under the guise of religion, we accept it. Well, you know what? We've accepted it to our detriment. So you have religion putting a big X on sex. And then, unfortunately, we have cults that use sex to control people because they know that if they can sexually abuse you, they're breaking a part of your mind, because every inch of your body has your mind strings in it. If they can break you through sexual abuse, basically they have you under control. And it's true. So we have the ETs, the galactics, that I think very few people will continue to say that doesn't exist. And they're not sexual. You never hear it was a male alien that I saw, it was a female alien that I saw. And nobody asks, what's this with them not having sexuality? Nobody asks that question. Well, we spent decades arguing about whether they existed or not, and then we went into, I think maybe they do. Oh my God, what a waste of time. And nobody is still asking, they don't have any sex? So we're not asking the questions. We're not looking for the answers. We're not going to causal. And it turns out that populations are collapsing, which means that countries are going to collapse. We went, I believe, you can look it up, I believe the United States went into population collapse 2 or 3 months ago. I saw that on X. I believe it was Elon Musk who said it. What does that mean? That means that this country no longer can hold a position of power, because within one generation, which I believe is 15 years, the population will not be able to sustain itself. In other words, we will fade out. And now we have Russia, which, I'm sorry, but I adore Putin. He does not, it doesn't really matter who's got a theory and who does this and how we're supposed to, he just looks at stuff and okay, wait a second. He's the one that won't allow GMOs, genetically modified food, in Russia. He's the one who said no microwave ovens. And here in the United States, everything's genetically modified, and it has been applauded. And microwave ovens are not an issue. And some people say to me, well, I don't really have an issue with radiation because I really don't use my microwave. Did you know that if your microwave is plugged into the wall, it is radiating microwave frequencies, even if you don't turn it on? And I'm going to tell that story now, because this is the way I teach people. I was sitting doing a mantra session, which means I had my rosary, my Buddhist mala, and I was sitting there repeating a mantra, no, 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 no. And I was looking at my feet, my shoes, and all of a sudden I saw this stream of gray energy, like a laser, but it wasn't laser like straight. It was a stream of gray energy kind of meandering out of the kitchen, and it came to my feet, and it landed on a buckle that I had on my shoe. And I went, wait a second. What is this? And when I walked into the kitchen, it was coming from my microwave oven. So, because all kitchens are built with microwave ovens. So I went, I thought we had disconnected that. So I opened the cabinet at the top, which is where the plug was. It was disconnected. I didn't quite know what to do, but I called somebody who worked for a big company that had made something called the electrosmog detector, which has to do with detecting radiation. Something weird happened there because they had this great idea of creating these small electrosmog detectors that the kids could put on their lapel, on their pocket, and then they would go to school and it would beep if they were too close to radiation. It never happened. They did build the large one, which is handheld, and then they stopped interference. So I called the guy on the phone and I said, I'm going to ask you a question, but you need to know that if you repeat to anybody that I asked you this question, I am going to deny it. I'm going to say that I never asked you that question because this is just too wild. He said, okay, what is it? I said, and I told him the story about this energy coming out of my kitchen from my microwave, but my microwave is not plugged in. And he said, well, I said, I don't understand. He said, you don't need for your microwave to be plugged in for it to be radiating. There's an expression that has been used about me, and it's la loca no está tan loca, which means that crazy lady, she's not so crazy. So I thought it was a bit crazy. So anyway, the microwave anchored to the metal decoration that was on my shoe. So microwave grounds in metal, like the metal in your teeth, the metal in the braces you put on your kids. So I went into stories and I lost my track. So we have huge issues having to, all major issues on the planet that bottom line end up revolving around sex. So here's another issue. 30 years ago, nobody had bottles of water. Maybe you had the big containers, because I remember when we went to Cuba, when we were sent to do intelligence work, when I was 11, I was sent to Cuba, when everybody was leaving Cuba, they would, all the homes, except the poor ones, they had big 5-gallon, 20-gallon, I have no idea, bottles of water would be delivered for the home. But nobody had small bottles of water, and there was no issue with water. If you sat down to dinner, you'd get maybe a small glass of water. Maybe one day you'd say, oh, I'm thirsty. Okay. Now, everybody has a bottle of water next to them. And if they forget it, they go back into their home and they pick it up, or they buy one at the counter at some store. Water. Okay, what's that got to do with sex, Francis? Well, the element of water is channeled, or is the element of the sexual sacral chakra in human beings, the one that's 2 inches below the belly button. It's the only energy center that works, that channels the water element. And obviously, we're dehydrated, which we weren't before, which means that the energy center that has to do with sexuality is dehydrated. So all the issues with water on the planet have to do with something going on with that energy center. Okay, so now that's health. And then we have all of these people that want to have children and they can't, so they do the procedures, the in vitro IVF, I think it's, and what is that all about? Why can't you just have sex, get pregnant, and have a baby? Not so easy anymore. So there we go with the sex again, and that's the sex energy center, the sex chakra, which is 2 inches below your belly button. Then let's go into politics. So in terms of reproduction, women are struggling to get pregnant, and the sperm fertility issue is out of control. And sperm need a particular temperature in which to live, but the microwave from the radiation from the cell phone that's near their energy center 2 inches below the belly button heats up. Microwave heats up. You boil water with it. So when people went around with what happened to the fertility rate, guys, you're microwaving the water in the energy center that has to do with fertility. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. No, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, but you do need to know that the spirits that are associated with the sexual sacral chakra are called incubus and succubus. And according to the Catholic Church and everybody else, they are the worst. They mind control, they turn people into perverts. So we have the fertility rate, collapsing populations, And then you have impotence and frigidity. And I don't really have any statistics on that. It's more concerning that people just really don't want sex. And the younger the kids, the less they're interested in sex. And I've said this story before in the podcast. I had a woman, she gave me permission to say it, except it's a generic story, that her son had a girlfriend and they had been together for like a year and they slept in the same bed most nights of the week, whether at her house or the girl's house. And the son told her that they didn't have sex. I mean, yes, I am older. I don't get it. When I was young, you just simply didn't lay in bed next to a guy. But you just didn't do it because it was pretty obvious what was going to happen, might happen, was people were thinking about it happening, was sex. And today, and now that woman called me several weeks later and said, I talked to a couple of friends of mine and they say it's the same thing with their kids, that they have a girlfriend, boyfriend, and they've never had sex. This would have been 7 or 8 years ago. And it's only getting worse. Okay, so let's go to politics. What does sex have to do with politics? Well, that's really easy. I was controlled by the intelligence community, and everybody knew you controlled the politicians either through money or through sex. And I was sex trafficked to politicians. So, and then if a politician, until relatively recently, chose to be gay or bisexual or whatever, they couldn't hold their position. They would have to hide it. And then they were blackmailed. There we go with the sex again. Let's go to religions. Catholic Church, Christianity, Jesus Christ, no sex. Jesus Christ's mother, no sex. Yeah, but she had a kid, no sex. Hello, hello, hello. Do we notice something here? Do we notice something here? Did I have... So then now we're at the ending of whatever having to do with not really understanding sex. So you go to a sex therapist. I bet you anything, they don't know the definition of the word sex. The definition in the dictionary is to cut and to divide. And that actually is referring to what has been said in the Bible. Man, God put man on the earth, noticed he was bored, cut a piece of him and created woman. Cut and divide. And then you have the entire population of the world that I'm not going to get into the bisexual and gay and all the rest of that. I haven't been able to adjust my language, my attitude, or to be politically correct on that, so I'm going to ignore it. You get the world population divided in two, male, female. Now I'm going to go into the whole gay, bisexual thing. If we got cut and divided, the definition of sex, that line, which basically put us tumbling down in terms of the process of being with God, I believe that our process of returning to unify with God means that that cut and that line needs to disappear, which should mean that the gays and the bisexuals are very evolved. And I'm going to drop it now. That statement I'm going to drop. If you want to read more about that, on my website, the Dolphins wrote a lot about sex, fascinating information. And you can go there and look it up. Put francisfox.com, Dolphins, sex. Just put sex and you can read all the articles and you'll go, whoa, this is interesting. And it really is interesting. But I'm not going to get into the evolution of the human race on planet Earth and its relationship to sex. I already did that in the book, Sex, the Path to God. What I'm talking about today is the very real issue of population collapse, which basically means it really doesn't matter how good you are, how great Trump is. and how great all of his choices are and how great the economy can be, we are headed towards demise of a civilization and potentially the whole planet. Not really, though, because Latin America doesn't have that issue. Maybe that's why it was said that at this time in history, Latin America would be a place of power. So, how about if we look at that and not get jealous that Latin America is going to be a place of power, because they are reproducing themselves? But how about if we just deal with the problem we have here, which is an international problem, which may not be happening in Latin America today, but will happen at some point unless the whole issue of sex is understood. So, going to causal, what happened to sex drive? About 10 years ago, as I said in the chat yesterday, about 10 years ago, maybe 15, I don't really remember. I need to go back and see the dates. I got very concerned about the fact that as a psychic, nobody was asking me about their girlfriend or boyfriend. It's like they stopped caring. And the issues were about prosperity and children. But since the planet began, the issues have always, with the psychic, the thing that bores us to tears is the question of mate. And if you notice that most of the songs, more than 90%, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, of the songs that have been written throughout history have been about mate, girlfriend, boyfriend, a woman you long for, a man that you yearn for. And it triggers enough emotions that a song is written about it and the whole world sings it. What's going to happen to our music? Because, and it's okay if our music changes. What's not okay is the whole issue of population collapse. Now, Putin, as I said yesterday, and I think I'm going to read it again today. Putin has decided that he's going to deal with it. And I said yesterday, and I was laughing, but I'm not really laughing. I'm not going to submit it to Putin because why would I do it? I'm here in the United States. Let's get it done here and get the protocol out to the whole world. But he said that they're going to set up a ministry of sex. And let me read to you what was in. What's interesting is I saw it on X, and then I didn't see it in any media in the United States. And if you look it up on the internet, the media comes mainly from India, and then a couple of other countries have this information about Putin and the Ministry of Sex, which is only in relationship to population collapse. So let me read it to you for those that have not, that are not aware. And if you heard it yesterday, you're going to hear it again today. This is what was said in the article. Turn off the internet, turn up the heat. It's cold in Russia. That's an order. With birth rates plunging in Russia, 72-year-old Putin is pushing for his people to have some serious pillow talk, literally. Russia's new baby boom strategy includes a ministry of sex dedicated to inspiring Russians to get cozy, complete with internet blackouts after 10 p.m. to encourage connection. That's in quotes, encourage connection. The Kremlin is pulling out all the stops within government, all the stops with government-sponsored date night, wedding night hotel vouchers, and even talk of a salary for stay-at-home lovers. They're calling it a special demographic operation. Can you believe that? It's crazy, but it's not crazy. What's crazy is that people are not looking for the root cause of what happened to sex drive, which is what I was researching 10 or 15 years ago, and I called it El Gran Apagón, which means the big turnoff. What turned off everybody sexually? And the response, the answer is our radiating devices. Microwave radiates, Wi-Fi radiates microwave. Microwave evaporates water, the element of the energy center where we have sex, sex drive, we produce ourselves, have babies, create at the highest level. We create from that energy center, 2 inches below your belly button, and we have microwaved it to death. Microwave heats up water and heats up cells. Fertility, sperm need to have a certain temperature to survive. Can we live without Wi-Fi? We don't need to. What we need to do is establish protocols having to do with how far away. First of all, you can't sleep with your cell phone, okay? You can't have your cell phone on top of your body. Give me a break. Another thing with the whole microwave thing is that your wisdom is held in your third eye, which is where your superpowers are. And microwave basically kills your third eye. So we have not had wisdom, because if not somebody from way, I'm not the kind of scientist that should be coming up with this information. It should be regular heart scientists, not a metaphysician. But nobody was noticing, no one was paying attention. And it was said by people that did a lot of studies, as I did, but except they didn't relate it to the whole sex thing, that the reason the government was not dealing with the issue of radiation from our cell phones and devices was because it could cause a collapse of the economy having to do with the technological companies. That is not true. Atlantis fell because there was no ethics applied to the technology, and we're doing that again today. So guess what? Let's get ethical, having to do with our technological, wonderful, convenient gadgets. At this time, I am understanding a little bit more about frequencies, because microwave is a frequency. And I did not know that, or I wouldn't have cried as much as I and other people have cried about this issue, because it's like people couldn't hear us. It's a frequency. So then that's not a great frequency. It was never supposed to be near our physical body or our energy bodies. But there are other frequencies that can correct that, such as trilling, the sound of birds chirping. Oh, the ex little bird. When it went away, it was like, oh, don't do that, don't do that. But you can have, and we have in the Mantrista movement, we have compositions by Mateo Cuaron. And the ones, since I discovered that trilling, which is a frequency in music, can correct what microwave breaks, I have it in all of the compositions that are being made for the Mantrista movement. And those videos are all free. They're music videos with images and frequencies that help to correct different things. But now they all have the trilling in them. And I am putting together a playlist that should be installed in all electric cars. Not that you have to go someplace to Spotify and maybe you don't have an account, or you don't know what. No, it should be installed in the car, and people should be educated as to a protocol of playing these videos. They don't have to be the image part of it. It can just simply be the frequencies, the sound, and it can be very low so that it can correct what the electricity in the car is breaking, not just in the human energy field, which is the mind strings from string theory that we all have. We have 72,000 of them that extend from a center axis. But the Higgs field is destroyed by microwave. The Higgs field that science doesn't really understand, but in metaphysics, it's been called the life web. And it is a web. And it's electric. So years ago, and some of you know the story already, I said, I want to understand what happens when you have electricity and microwave in the same space. And nobody could answer. And I asked a lot of people. I don't know, we don't know. So I finally met somebody who's a genius and who was I think an engineer. And he said, you know what, we're going to make up a little thing and we're going to do a little experiment. So he made up a little box with electricity which was very easy. And then we had the cell phone. And I had asked my masters and God to please allow me to see microwave. I wanted to see it, and I wanted to see electricity. I want to see it. I want to see it. And he would turn on this little box and put the wires together, and there'd be electricity, and would turn on, and I could see it. It was kind of okay, and would turn on the cell phone with the microwave, and the electricity would go crazy. It could not hold its structure. And I went, bingo, I knew that. The electricity will wipe us out. Why is that important? Because we have an energy body, which I will show you now, which is electric, which I am only showing and talking about this openly because Trump is president and RFK is going to be in charge of our health. If he hadn't become president, I wouldn't be saying this now. The second body from the left is our electric system. It's called the etheric body, and it is a Higgs field in the shape of the physical body. So that same webbing is all around us, multi-layered. Microwave burns holes through it. They're called portals. And the portals are the ones that let spirits and other things come in. So this information is, I have it. I have not tried to hide it from anybody. I have been afraid to share it because I am sure several people's lives have been terminated because of information similar to this in the past. I think that that's not going to happen today. And if it happens, you know what? I'll take my chances. We have the ability to have the technology that we want, but we need to understand what it does to the human energy bodies. And then we need to provide very simple protocols that basically don't cost anything. But we have to get it to the public. We have to get behind that. And in doing that, we're going to be addressing the issue of what the hell happened to sexuality. And I find it fascinating that women today dress as if they were ready for sex in the next 2 minutes, because I don't really care what people are saying. Yes, everybody has the right to dress any way you want, but the way you dress is basically something that you're telling other people about you. So if you're dressing so sexual, what are you saying about you? You're very sexual. Don't touch, but I'm very sexual. Here's everything hanging out. Don't touch. Fine, no problem. But that's a lie because they're not having sex. So why all this sexuality? You're not having sex. Yeah, I have sex every once in a while. Good, great, great. So there's a reaction to not having sex, because if not, people wouldn't need to look that sexual. Like with a man that is with a different woman every week, he's not doing so well sexually. I can tell you that. I know. He needs something extra, a new woman, and then he can manage to perform. Something's the matter. So this whole thing with looking so sexual is another symptom of the lack of sexual energies flowing properly in our bodies. Okay, so then we go to the bottom line. Kundalini. Oh yeah, my wife takes Kundalini yoga. Great. Ask everybody who takes Kundalini yoga if they have had any spontaneous orgasms. And they're going to say no. And they're going to go, oh, I've heard about that. If you actually have Kundalini being stimulated, you're going to probably have spontaneous orgasms, and you are going to be a lot more sensual. That doesn't mean you're sleeping around. I'm not recommending that. So if you look at the people that are doing the Kundalini yoga, they look very nice and they're very trim and slim, and but the sensuality is not there, because the Kundalini is not getting stimulated, because there's some stuff about the Kundalini that we're not aware of. So why am I getting on to that? Because Kundalini is an energy that is our connection to God. That's pretty important today, that we're in end times and we're supposed to be reconnecting to God. And we're not getting that in our religions, and we're not getting that in Kundalini yoga classes. And nobody's really having enough sex. And nobody is able to reproduce. Very few people can reproduce in the way we used to. And our biggest idol, which was Jesus Christ, we were told his mother never had sex, and he didn't either. That's a bit of a problem. So, where am I at here? I've talked for 35 minutes. I think I repeated what I said yesterday, hopefully a little bit more systematically. So, our society can collapse if they release the Epstein list. That's society, politics, economics, all because of sex. Our population's collapsing because of the great turnoff, which means nobody's having sex, they're turned off. Something's not going on. Our children are doing weird things, laying in bed with people of the opposite sex or whatever, even the same sex. They're not having sex. We've had sex is supposed to be like an instinct, and it's not happening. So we will be setting up a protocol. I'm sure I will never get it over to Russia, but maybe the information will get over there. And we need to very quickly get this corrected. So what can you do about that? You can do a mantra. You can do our mantra music video, which has horses, which stimulate sexuality and correct sexuality. They're used for pedophiles when they do therapy for pedophiles. You can go to the beach. Everybody knows that when you go to the beach, people are more sexual. Water, which is the element of that energy center. You can also go to the mountains. It's very grounding. Not as good as water in terms of augmenting sexuality. So you can go to the beach. So then more water means more sex. Everybody knows that. And we're not getting enough of it from the little bottle of water that we all carry around. And I have found, so it's not a coincidence that the worst spirits on the planet are the ones that live in that energy center, the incubus and the succubus. So we need to know more about them. Well, I can tell you about them. They come in through the left ear, a portal that's here. And they're also the ones that are responsible for bipolar. They come in, they go down to 2 inches below the belly button, and then they kind of go to sleep there until there's an interesting happening or they want to destroy somebody's life. And then they come up, they take over, and you got a monster on your hand, a person that normally is very normal. So we need to know more about those beings. And but it is not governments, and it is not religions, and it is not groups that are controlling the understanding and finding the information to correct this path of destruction that we're on. It is spirits that have created all sorts of blocks and cloaking and invasions of the mind and whisperings and control of our religious leaders that have us reaching this point. So if you don't believe in spirits, then there's still a huge chunk of information that's missing as to how did we get here. We got here because there's a group of spirits that would like to take over our bodies and turn us into zombies that generally reside in the sexual energy center. And in order for them to do what the Bible, the Mayans, the dolphins, and everybody said was be happening now, they have to get us totally dysfunctional in that department. So a belief in the spirit world and an understanding that if the Catholic Church has a listing and they say these are the worst ones, in Tibetan psychiatry, they have a listing, and I don't know if they say they're the worst ones, but they're there also. We have to be more respectful of information that has been on this planet forever. We can do this, and we can do this pretty quickly. The information can get out there because of all this technology. The understanding of frequencies. Oh, I have too much of the frequency of Wi-Fi in my house. I need to put on those videos 24/7, which is the way I have it in my home, 24/7. I still get nervous because I have my Starlink and I have Wi-Fi here, and I don't turn it off on that at night the way I used to, because I have the Armantista music videos, which have the trilling. It still makes me nervous, thinking that maybe that's not enough. Apparently, it is enough because I don't appear to have the symptoms of having that excess Wi-Fi. But I somehow we're going to have to measure that. But getting those frequencies, getting the element of water and the element of earth, because the microwave radiates the fire element. So if you put out the fire, so the trilling is a frequency that corrects, by the way, microwave breaks DNA. So the trilling can correct that. And then if you have enough water, you go to the beach, or you look at these Mantrista music videos, or you look at but you have to do a lot of them. The Mantrista music videos you can put on 24/7, and they should be 24/7. Every place, restaurants, downtowns, everything. And they can be put on very low. And then the images of water, because we can't get to the beach every day. Some people never go to the beach in their life because they don't live close to one. But you can look at the videos that have water in them. Our videos have water in them. And the whole documentaries with water, that is obviously very soothing and also purifies spirits. That's why Jesus Christ, the first thing he did before he went out to teach, he had baptism in water, because the water takes away spirits. The food, by the way, of the devil is fire. Element of fire is what's radiated by our devices. So you start to connect the dots and you go, it's really very, very clear. So I will be setting up a protocol, and I need to do it really quickly. And then we need to get it out there and have people, but let's not get like the people from Hollywood to promote it, because it seems to me, from what I'm looking at the national scene, that they're not everybody's favorite people today. The fall of hierarchy is very obvious. It's in the Bible. It says, and the meek shall inherit the earth. And that applies to all these revelations about these really high up people that have always done what they do, but now it's horrible. It's a sin. But they always did that because we are entering the age of Aquarius. This is good. So we have to get regular people to promote this, and we have to make it cool and all the rest of that. But we can do that. And we're going to do that. So we have several aspects of our life that are going to collapse, and it's simply because we have not understood the importance of sex. We cringe when we use the word orgasm, and people like me I wonder if Facebook's going to take this down. We cannot put the word sex, much less orgasm, when we're going to send out a newsletter on the subject. We can't put those words. They won't let us send it. They will not send the newsletter. Well, the thing we need to know the most about, we're not allowed to talk about. Got to correct that also. So let's do 5 minutes of a Mantrista music video that has water and has the frequencies that can help you with the microwave that is damaging your electric system, which is your immune system, by the way. And the mantra, I think I'm going to give the mantra, yes, you can still buy for tonight. And I don't send you the link. You will automatically get a second email when you purchase it, and it will have the link on it, okay? I play the trilling all night. So the mantra we're going to do is, give me a second. I swear the things that I don't know how to do on the internet, it's kind of scary. How did I ever get here? I wonder if I spelled that right. I did. Okay, this is the mantra. You repeat it in silence. Environmental with an O at the end. I knew I had made a mistake someplace. We're going to have to excuse it. And then I'm going to put on the trilling music. Okay, and we're going to do 5 minutes. You repeat the mantra in silence. And take your breath to 2 inches below your belly button. Now, why did I put environment? Because this will heal the Higgs field around you. We live in a Higgs field. The Higgs field is a supporting other dimensional structure around us. When you have a haunted house, it's because the Higgs field is broken. Radiation opens portals, which means practically all of our homes are haunted. Okay, I really am going to stop talking. What a novel concept. Okay. How do you feel? Tomorrow, I promise not to talk so much about sex. I am going to teach you more about how to start clearing that energy center um, mentally through healing, which should be nice. It's going to be maybe the first time I'm going to start teaching here in this chat how to start to take care of yourself in other dimensions. Okay? So we shall see you back. And any comments, please send us emails to francis@francisfox.com. I still have zero postal service. None of my mail has been forwarded to me since the 22nd of August. There's something going on Miami, really, really interesting, to where they think they can get away with controlling federal mail. Ah, I'll tell you when we get this resolved, and we'll figure out who it is that did it, which of course was the Cuban political mafia. But we will keep you updated on that. Thank you for joining me. Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm a very happy person. Trump won. It's a very good thing for somebody such as myself that was maybe still is a mind control victim, was sex trafficked, controlled, used as a white slave, a prostitute, and a courtesan, to have somebody like Trump win. Here's the trick: there's going to have to be an awful lot of wisdom applied to all of these situations where people behaved poorly. Obviously, we cannot and should not put them to death. Obviously. This is a planet of light and dark. The light cannot be seen unless there's a contrast with dark. And we're all playing out a dynamics that is not explained to us. And the person that explained it to me when I started my therapy process was my sister, when I was crying all over the place and in shock and choosing psychologists and being referred to psychologists that specialized in torture victims and prisoners of war. My sister said, "You know, you chose this." And I said, "I'm not that dumb. But you know what? I did choose it. And so did you choose everything that happened to you and that's happening to you in order to align yourself with your mission in this incarnation." So, that being said, it's not easy to accept, but unless we accept it, we continue the cycle of being able to point our fingers at people and saying, "That's a bad person and I'm a good person." Meanwhile, we all have a lot of darkness inside. So, I'm very happy about the results of the elections. And now we just need to be spiritually sophisticated. When I came up with that phrase a couple of years ago, people got irritated at me. They didn't like the term. And they said, "Well, it means that the person knows more than the average person, having to do with the other dimensions and the spirit world and what life is like for the human beings in the other dimensions where it's spiritual." And they just didn't like it. But of course, these were people that are not spiritually sophisticated. We have got to become spiritually sophisticated, everyone. And these chats, which we turn into podcasts, and everything it is that I do, has to do with getting you to, dragging you into, pushing you into, coaxing you into exploring the other dimensions to where your lens is more open, third eye, um, and your wisdom augments. Because once you can see what is really going on, including with the bad people that did bad stuff to you, then you go, "Oh, I get it. I get it." And I'm going to repeat the story that everybody who knows shamanism, but real shamanism, not the guy that shows up in town with all the white robes and everything and looks like Jesus Christ, even though Jesus Christ was a shaman. But they're not looking for that look. They're looking for the adoration without having the skill. So, In shamanism, there's a story that was told to me many years ago after I had already experienced it several times. Some of the experiences are so traumatic that I really cannot share them because you're not ready to accept them. But this shaman told me that the animals know when human beings, we're talking about before when we lived outdoors in caves, etc., the animals would know that human beings needed to eat. And so they would go to the river and hang out, waiting for the hunters to come and to kill them so that they would have food. And the animals knew this and did it purposefully. Oh, what a beautiful little story. Yes, now apply that to your enemy. And then it gets more complicated mentally. But you need to do it because if not, we just extend the mess of what life has been like on planet Earth of duality. And we're supposed to be resolving that duality right now. So I'm very happy about the results of the elections. We have left the age of information, the age when you're sitting at a dinner table, somebody says something, and somebody goes, I'm going to check that on Google. All of a sudden, they stop eating, they take out their phone, they check it, and they go, look, this is what it says. And everybody's pleased, especially the person that found it. Look what I found. That's the age of information. We're kind of out of that now. We're in the age of transformation. Totally different. It's not a question of getting enough information. It's a question of looking for the transformation, even if you don't quite get it. And under those conditions is how Trump is entering this cycle with an opportunity to help us to transform, which means it's not just the facts, but it is a spiritual angle of it that has to do with what you wanted before you incarnated. Okay, so you're going to say, well, he doesn't really believe in reincarnation. Okay, don't believe in reincarnation. Just make that be this lifetime. The resistance to examining reincarnation from certain people in this part of the world is silliness. Because if you do minimal amount of research and you check out all the other religions, all the other medicines, they all believe in reincarnation and they're not dummies. Actually, when you get sick, you should pray that you can go to somebody from those other religions, those other medical belief systems, etc., because they can actually do stuff for you that over here we consider a miracle. So, but I'm going to drop the reincarnation thing because I know that's kind of hard for a lot of people because you think that the person that you admire, such as Jesus Christ, didn't believe or understand the whole reincarnation issue. And we're not going to argue about that. This is not the place for it. So, in an age of transformation, how does that change everything? You don't need to know all the information about your chakra system. You just need basics. You need to know the 7 major ones, and you need to know which organs are controlled by which energy center, chakra. And then when you get sick, you look up the organ, you find the energy center, the chakra, and then you look up what can help to heal, transform that energy center. You don't need to know all the details about them. It's okay if you want to do that. But do not waste your time on that because that's not where we're at and that's not going to get you to where you want to be. So the age of Google, past. The age of information, past. The age of transformation, right here. And it's very exciting. It's really, really, really exciting. Politics and emotional dishonesty. First, let me get into just emotional dishonesty. Emotional dishonesty is when you show, even to yourself, a very prostituted version of what you're feeling as a reaction to things. Your sister does something god awful, and you go, you know what? What can I tell you? I feel sorry for her. She's just not well, and she didn't really mean it. Meanwhile, inside of you, you're really angry that your sister would do that to you. But you do mentally understand why she did it. And we need that. But you didn't take care of your emotional response to what she did, which is totally different It's a different energy center, it's a different energy body. So when you understand something mentally, you have not addressed what makes you sick, which is repressed negative emotions. So being emotionally honest, which doesn't mean you need to let people know how you feel, it means that you need to process it and not just stuff it inside of yourself. That's really important. And I was telling the Mantrista movement yesterday in the chat that I have noticed something. People have different types of consciousness: angelic, dolphin, whale, um, galactic. I had a galactic boyfriend once. This is not so much fun. Um, if you're angelic, which is a significant percentage of the population of the world, and Venezuela, as an example, is mainly of people with angelic consciousness, and you are in planet Earth, you're like freaked out. You're like, what is this? People are so unkind. They're so, how can they do that? Oh my God, it's breaking my heart. But you don't do that. You just kind of react. And I remember I have a granddaughter who's angelic, and everybody else in the family is dolphin consciousness. And when she was born and when she was little, all she wore was pink. It was so cute. And as the years went by and she got beaten up by the reality of what being a human being on planet Earth is like, and especially a human being that's angelic, she wasn't wearing the pink anymore. She wore some pink. Not so much. She could not have kept that angelic quality, nor can practically anybody. So what happens to angelic consciousness people? They turn themselves into pretzels, and they hide that part of them that is in such pain because of what they see, and then they start to adopt the way other people behave, except it's totally against their essence. And they become, what I have found is they become very repressed, and they're just not who they are. Not being who you are is a problem today. It's not like not being who you were 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 300 years ago, where you could just simply be a neurotic, whatever. And I'm not saying all angelics are neurotic, but I have to tell you that most of them are, and and they don't even remember, because we're not told this when we're born, that they are angelic and that life is going to be really hard for them because this planet doesn't have that vibration. So you have a lot of people that are running around being something that they're not, and then becoming increasingly distorted. And I'm talking about angelics, but then I'm talking also about dolphins who are not allowed to be sensual, playful, community. They got to run a company, they got to run. Or the whales. The whales, people that are whale consciousness, the first animal God put on the planet, they're very heavy energy. They're very real. The most evolved of all of them, lots of wisdom, lots of vision, and that vision makes them very depressed. They're heavy, heavy energy and heavy consciousness. And if they don't kind of understand that, first they end up with massive depressions. They're generally not thin. They can be, but they're generally not thin. And they have to hold on to something that can make them survive the heaviness of living on planet Earth. So a lot of them have addictions. All of these things is information that needs to be available to everybody so that people can be spiritually sophisticated about who they are, and then start to take into consideration what their needs are. And you can know what your children are and know what their needs are. I have a child who's a Pisces. I didn't know anything about astrology. I'd never had any training in that. So when I was raising my children, I didn't take the astrology into consideration. And Pisces are very secretive. They're very private. They really don't want anybody to know anything about them, especially what's going on inside. If they have troubles, they're not going to share it. That's basically, any astrologer will tell you that's true. They come into this incarnation very evolved, but very beaten up at all the injustices and pain they've seen in other lifetimes. So they come in, they look and they go, oh no, and they shut themselves in a box. They don't want to hear it, they don't want to see it. Even though inside that box, this horror story is fermenting, but they're comfortable inside their box. So I had a child that was a Pisces. I have a child that's a Pisces. I'm a helicopter Cancer mom. Not good for the child. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to make sure that this child was safe. And this child didn't want me to know anything. Who's wrong? Nobody. But I was not spiritually sophisticated. I didn't have the information that if I had it, it would have made everything relate in terms of relating, which is what we want, more easier on both of us. So we're talking about integrating information that is centuries old, centuries of observations and drawing conclusions, which is the definition of science, and we have ignored it, and we cannot ignore it any longer. In terms of health, with this new administration, we have RFK, who's going to be in charge of our health. Thank you. Can I please light 3 candles? I never light candles, but I'll light 3 candles that this man is protected and can give us what we deserve, which is health care that makes sense. That, by the way, probably 50 times, 100 times, 1,000 times cheaper than the health care that we have today. You don't have to spend all that money on medicine. Sometimes just one good mantra can blow out an illness. One good mantra, a simple mantra, will reduce your blood pressure. Means you don't have to be on blood pressure medication. So I'm hoping that RFK is spiritually sophisticated. Spiritual has nothing to do with religion. Spiritual has to do with the non-physical part of you, which is what gets sick, your spirit, your astral body. So in terms of emotional dishonesty and not living what you are, what is the link to health? And I said this example yesterday, I said it today, this afternoon, I'm going to say it now again. When I was working on root cause of cancer, nobody's going to shoot me, right? Oh no, Trump is president. Okay, so I'm not going to get shot. When I was working on the root cause of cancer, I did a lot of research. I already knew what the root cause was, but I wanted to know what society was saying. And it turned out that medical doctors that deal with cancer say that cancer patients are really nice people. They're sweet. They're very nice. They always have this smile on their faces. And it's such a shame that they get cancer. Well, cancer is a disease of repressed rage and impotence. So it's not that they're not sweet, it's that they're emotionally dishonest, and what is on their face is not matching what it is that made them ill. Now, I'm not what I discovered in my research totally corresponds with Veda and Chinese medicine knows. So the being emotionally honest is really important. We need to be able to deal with our emotions. We don't have to let other people know. You could just do a mantra. Silently, nobody needs to know. But you have to address it rather than stuff it. The definition of the word emotion means to move out. How many psychologists, psychiatrists know that? 0. My living master, who's passed already, said to me, you don't have the right to talk about anything unless you look up the words first in the dictionary. And it turns out that the words, the root, usually the words that I have looked up have an energetic component that kind of explains things. Emotion, emote, move out. How do you get sick? You didn't emote your reaction to something that happened to you. In terms of cancer, I don't know that that's the case anymore because of all the radiation, which too much fire, so it augments cancer. But when I did the research, it was between 24 and 27 months after an incident in which your reaction was, I hate this, but I can't do anything. So let it go. But you don't let it go. You stuff it. You don't process it, you stuff it. Emotional dishonesty. Let's integrate all of these things into the new medical system, which will totally be holding hands with Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. And I don't know how much talking regular shamans did, but if they did, they would be talking about it also. Emotional dishonesty, being emotionally honest. And now let's go to the liberals who just lost an election. What is this thing with the liberals? They want to take care of all of the immigrants and they want to give them all this stuff that apparently they're giving them. Da, da, da. I'm not talking about the people behind the scenes controlling the liberals. I'm talking about the liberals that have bought what was sold to them and actually believe that they really want this for everybody. Somebody gives is given extra help because they didn't have quite the background. So when they're going to go to school, they get all this extra help, and then they end up in a job and they're hired because they're a Hispanic female and they need Hispanic females, but that person is not quite as talented. But we have to do it dishonest doesn't work. Doesn't work. What is going on with the liberals in this country that they have these incredible meltdowns? There was something on X where somebody walked up to a woman's home and said, "We want to know if you agree that the immigrants should be allowed in and they should be taken care of. And if you do, please sign here." And the woman signed, and it was very nice. And then the guy said, "Excuse me a minute." And he went, "Come on down." And he had a car full of people that he had picked up from Home Depot, the ones that wait out there to see if you need them to help put up a fence or whatever. And he said, "Come on down." And the woman said, "What is that?" He said, "Well, you just signed that you think that this country should take care of all these illegal immigrants. You just signed a document, didn't you?" "Yeah, but I did not mean." They never went into how they really feel about it. It's very intellectual. They didn't deal with their astral spirit body. They only dealt with their mental body. And intellectually, of course, we want to take care of the whole world. Don't we have the Statue of Liberty? But if you bring it down to the emotional, which is a completely separate energy vessel, energy vehicle, which I will show you now, it's a completely different story. And that is what is getting revealed about the liberals. When it comes to the bottom line of how do you feel about this emotionally, not intellectually, emotionally, because theoretically we're democratic, we should take them all in. That's what built this country. How do you feel about it emotionally? Totally different story. So let me show you the bodies and what it is that the liberals need to heal from. The liberals and a lot of nice women and whatever that end up being whatever. These are our energy, our physical body and our energy bodies. All the way to the left, you have your physical body. Then you have your etheric, which is your electric. That's the one that we have to be careful with all the radiation. That is your immune system. Chinese medicine, acupuncture, opening up blocked electrical lines, which are the meridians. Okay, the next body, the gold, is your astral spirit body. Your astral body, it is known, is your emotional body. It is composed of astral particles, which are particles of emotion. It's your spirit. When they say in the movie, "May the force be with you," they're saying, we hope that your emotional spirit body is aligned with your physical body. Because if it is, you're going to be really, really strong. Okay, and then you go back to those strings that extend from the body with all the chakras with the colored balls in them. That's your mental body. So let's say you're a left type person, left inclined person. Mentally, those strings you want, and in terms of the center, which is where your intentions are, your intentions is for everybody to be okay. And your mental body is like these concepts of we're democratic and we need to have all those people come in. Okay, those two bodies, okay, you're harmonious with yourself. But your most important body is not your physical. It's not any of the others. It's your spirit body, the ones that's emotions. And those are the ones that emotionally can't deal with what they feel and espouse intellectually. And they don't understand that it's a completely different body. Yes, we all want democracy. We want to take care of everybody, 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 everybody. But when it is in your yard, your zip code, your front door, it's a different story. When it's your kid bringing home somebody that we're all created equal, and your kid is bringing somebody that doesn't even speak your language, and you're like, wait a minute, wait a minute. Your emotional astral body, which is where your strength is not compatible with your concepts, with those intentions that you espouse. And it creates a lot of havoc. We're going to have a lot of breakdown of people that are going to be confronting what it is that they espouse and their reaction to what it is that they're saying needs to happen, and then having it happen. And now I would like to get onto a not comfortable part of this conversation, which is what Trump has inherited in terms of human history. I do a chat every Wednesday at 2 in Spanish, and it's called Ask Francis. And people come and they can ask me basically anything. I tell them I don't want to be a gossip, so don't ask me about what's your adult kid that's already married, if he left the home, and you don't ask me what's going on with his wife, his job, or whatever, because that is gossip. If he doesn't want to tell you, you have to ask yourself why he doesn't want to tell you. And then, of course, I had to confront my own thing, helicopter cancer, psychic mom, wanting to know everything. If they don't want to tell me, there's a reason for it. And I just am going to have to live with that. That has not been easy, but we all have our challenges. So we have a situation going on now. So anyway, I have these chats on Wednesdays, and a lot of times there's like a theme. Like it could be diabetes, it could be did the spirit of your mother go to the light? She has passed. Today it was not good. Today it was 20 different versions of I don't want to live. Somebody said, I just want to incarnate means to be born. And in Spanish, the word is easier translated, but the opposite of incarnate. I want to be unalive. In other words, I want to be dead. She put that in the chat. Once I started to discuss it openly. People were saying, I have absolutely no motivation. I don't want to even move. Somebody else was saying, I don't even know why I'm living. I don't have anything. But I mean, several people, one after the other, and I was like, wait a second. And I finally remembered that I have a sketch, because every time they asked me that, this is what I would see. And this is what I need for Trump to hear, because he's inheriting a process. And if he doesn't get a grip on it by being spiritually sophisticated, it's going to end up looking like under his watch, everything just completely went south. No, we've been going south for a while. But unless you understand the other dimensions, which is where the ETs are and the spaceships, you're going to get completely trashed. It's going to look like it's Trump's fault that everything fell apart. No, we were in a process of falling apart. Can we bring this back? If we understand what's going on, which the Bible tried to tell us, and the Mayans and everything, but because we don't know anything about the parts of us that are in the other dimensions, which is what the Lord's Prayer, original in Aramaic, is all about. But we didn't get that version. We got the version that turned us into victims. If we don't get a grip on this now, it's going to look like we chose the wrong president. The decisions that are being made are wrong. No, we have been on a horrible path, because we haven't known enough about ourselves, and we haven't paid attention to ethics in terms of technology, which means we have to slow down a little bit to figure out how it affects people. And we're here. Trump gets elected. Great intentions. My chat today at 2 made my blood run cold, because of what everybody was, not everybody, a significant percentage of the questions were from people that basically were telling me, I don't want to live. Now, several weeks ago, when I was setting up these new chats that I have having to do with your Kundalini and your head, and I cut all the implants, matrix implants, and then these new attacking spirits called Xenos, Zenos. I wrote a little thing. I asked the dolphins about it, and they gave me some instructions and recommendations. And then they said, go ahead and set up a chat for people sessions, ongoing sessions for people who want to die. And I went, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, what the title of it? I want to die. And they went, within several weeks, you'll see why we told you to do this. This is several weeks, and I understand why they told me to do that. Too many of us want to die. Now, what's that all about? Well, because we don't know anything about astral particles, which are particles of emotion, and like nanotechnology, we have enemies off planet that know how to collect it and send emotional viruses onto planet Earth. And I haven't checked, but they've done this several times before, and I'm sure that's what's going on now also. They've sent a virus, or for whatever reason, a significant percentage of people really don't want to live. And when you don't intend on living, you don't really want to live, you manage that somehow. You get run over, there's another plague, and you die, but you didn't want to live anyway. But let me show you what it is that happens to their astral spirit body, which is what you think separates from the physical body when somebody dies. And you're in a funeral home where somebody says, oh, my father who died a week ago, he came to visit me in a dream last night. And you think that him, that spirit of him, just out of nowhere, when the physical body died, it just popped up. You have one of those since before you're born as part of your system, your assemblage of bodies. But let me show you what it looks like when you keep moving forward, but you really just want to die. Okay? This is what it looks like. There you got the physical body that's skin color. You have the blue one, which is the etheric electrical body, which is your immune system. And then you have your astral spirit body, which is the red one. It is inclined forward. So it leaves a space in the assemblage of bodies. And what comes into that space is not an angel, it's a spirit. And it is the process of becoming a zombie. So I don't remember, but I think I'm going to have somebody go back to my chat today, which ended up being twice as long as I normally do it. As I was getting increasingly depressed and overwhelmed with what the questions that it wasn't just the questions they were asking me, it was what I was seeing when I went to look for the answer to their question, which was that their spirit body, their spirit, was bent over and their physical body was up like this in the etheric, and they look like they're fine, but they're not. And I know two or three of these people that ask questions. They're part of the group, but they are zombie material. They are already zombies because nothing is left empty. Nothing is left empty. So, Trump, you are inheriting a country that is extremely important in the middle of a spiritual crisis because people have not known enough about themselves. One of our problems in this part of the world is the marketing disinformation that was done on Jesus Christ. When people want to talk about Jesus Christ, they'll generally throw the book at you. Some quotes from the Bible. Okay, well, the Bible also told people to kill their kids and a lot of other stuff, and you don't throw that quote at people, do you? No, but you can't be doing that. That's selective thing you can't be doing. And people are not running around saying, I live like Jesus Christ. They're not doing that, which is what they should be doing. It says this, and this shouldn't be, and a lot of finger pointing. Quit with the finger pointing, because we're going to go all down together. So, Trump, you are inheriting a very important country, and you have an opportunity to become spiritually sophisticated, which means you have to let go a little bit of what has held all of us back, having to do with the other dimensions, okay, which our religions have tried to control our relationship with the other dimensions, our relationship with spirits. Did they ever tell us that we have a spirit attached to us that's us since conception? No. No. But they will offer to take care of your spirit once your physical body dies. Do you know how banged up your spirit is by then? You want to control your physical behavior, when it is what's inside that's really going to mess us all up. So all of us need to become spiritually sophisticated. And a cute example is this. Everybody's talking about defend the Constitution and you have to follow the Constitution. And then when they see the third eye in the dollar bill, they're no longer as happy with whoever, 100 some years ago, chose to put this on our dollar bill. No, 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 no. We got some conspiracy going on here. No, you don't have a conspiracy. The conspiracy is what was done to you to stop you from understanding what's in the other dimensions, which is where reality is created and where it's so easy to manipulate you if you don't really understand anything about it. To have the eye on the dollar bill, and I'm not going to go into the whole explanation, but exactly where it's positioned, which is not in the middle of that pyramid, to have that third eye there means that whoever designed that wanted for us, in terms of this country, we're looking at a dollar bill from the United States or whatever, or a $10 bill, to be spiritually sophisticated and seek money, issues related to money, to business, that there be wisdom, because the third eye is about wisdom. Now, if you don't know that, then you got a problem. Then you want to know all about that conspiracy and try to figure out if it was a Freemason or a Mason or whatever else, Illuminati. I don't know if they supposedly existed then. Rather than going, so they put that on the bill, and we're not remembering that in terms of, and everybody knows that that eye is in the third eye and it's in the forehead. Okay, this is not news, or it shouldn't be news to you. So look what they did to Jesus Christ to completely block his third eye. And look what has been done to us having to do with the fluoride, which RFK says is going to be out of our water within weeks. This is good. But if you look at fluoride, you'll find that the main thing that it destroys is your third eye. So you get people that are wise enough to put the third eye on your dollar bill, and you're pointing fingers that it's a conspiracy. Not spiritually sophisticated. People were irritated when I brought out that phrase, spiritually sophisticated, but that's because they're not spiritually sophisticated. I don't expect any of you to be if you're in this part of the world. That's why I was born, and a lot of other people were born and are trying to get information to you so that you can expand your lens and you can benefit from information that's thousands of years old and that works instantly, and most of it is cheap and free. The whole thing with the medical is so ludicrous that it's embarrassing. To have the ETs come and see the way we handle health, they got to think we're dumb as a rock. It doesn't make any sense. You can't get sick physically until you've already been sick 24 to 27 months ago, having to do with cancer. Now, I don't know in terms of other diseases. That was the one I did the most research on. So then why don't we go ahead and take care of the other dimensional parts of us in health, and then we don't have to deal with the very expensive treatments of the physical body. Once you get sick on the physical, you have been sick for at least months before. And so that's why they call it preventive. Or maybe they don't know why they call it preventive medicine. It's preventing your physical body from being sick, but you already have your symptoms in the other dimensions, the other bodies. And even though they don't know about the bodies, they can guide the symptom. If we don't take care of this, you're going to have this disease. No, you already have that disease. It just hasn't landed yet in your physical body. So I didn't really mean to go on and on about all of this, because honestly, I'm super excited about the fact that Trump is here, super excited about JFK being in charge of health, and Elon Musk. I mean, come on. And then I have my chat, 2:00 this afternoon, and I see what it is that we're going to be dealing with. A lot of us are going to be filled with joy, but we are going to get trashed by the volume of people that are going down. And they're not going down on their own. There's a lot of outside interference, a lot of invasions onto the planet of spirits. Oh, but you don't believe in spirits. Okay, your religion does. So stop looking up stuff on Google unless it has to do with all of this. And try not to get a New Agers version of this because they are so sweet and so nice. They don't deal with the dark part. And as I said to you, and this is just a cute thing, and then we'll go ahead and do a mantra. Oh, then I need to show you the sketches of the United States. I am having such huge issues having to do with the sex trafficking and money that is owed to me, and people have tried to prove that I'm mentally ill. So therefore, I don't know how they could do that, because even if I was mentally ill, if there's a document that says I'm supposed to have money, shouldn't it come to me anyway? But anyway, I'm not mentally ill. And I went to, in the 90s, to all the recommended psychologists and Dr. Colin Ross. No mental illness, dissociative disease due to severe stress. But anyway, so in looking up, trying to figure this whole thing out, because it turns out that I'm being left in the dark, and I'm not sure that if I'm being left in the dark because there was a contention that I was mentally ill and I couldn't defend myself in court. Are you give me a break? Give me a break. Like I said to somebody, I have money in the bank, I have stocks, I have a paid off car, I have never been picked up by the police. There's never been an incident of me being out of control. I'm a mind control victim. I never took one psychiatric drug or pill. I know a lot of people that have. I don't have an addiction, alcohol, drugs. My addiction was sugar. And worrying, that's another addiction. So, but anyway, I was looking online because I can't leave my house because there's something going on that's really big, and it's actually been recommended that I just not move. So I'm not moving until the coast is clear. So as you know, I look at a lot of astrology online, and I have the big screen TV, and then you have all these things, and I clicked on a couple that were tarot card readers, and then I clicked on more. And as I already told you, the Black women tarot card reader can assess my situation and give me more information. I'm not asking them anything. This is online. They don't know who I am. I've never met them before. I'm just clicking as to what they're putting out. They have more accurate assessment of my situation than the white tarot card readers, because they are perhaps more used to that level of darkness in their lives because of what has been done to people, Black people in this country. So you're going to go to somebody who's not spiritually sophisticated, which means they really would prefer not to deal with darkness. They don't want it, whether it's in medicine. So anyway, so you have a medical doctor who's not spiritually sophisticated. If somebody is dying because of black magic, they're not going to, it's not within their paradigm. They're not going to diagnose it correctly. They're going to run around like a chicken without their head. Well, we never figured it out. It's probably such and such a thing, because they cannot ever say, we don't know. They'll go, it's probably, in order to be able to hold their position of authority, that they kind of have a grip on things. So the whole spiritually sophisticated angle is very important. So let me get these things in order so that you can see. By the way, I have no mail. No mail. U.S. mail, no mail. The head of the Coral Gables postal system put a request in several weeks ago, nada. And then not the head of the Coconut Grove postal system. He got really weird on me. So one of the people that was there at the counter came over and said, I'll take care of it. And she registered another formal address change, 13 weeks from the 22nd of August. No mail. Other than new companies that I'm working with, to where it's not forwarded. So we don't know, and we suspect that there's some kind of a court system going on. There's some kind of something that people are trying to contact me, or the bad guys don't want them to contact me. And meanwhile, I'm sitting here twiddling my thumb and feeling like I was confused first. And then I realized this is obviously a plan. And I don't think it's working for them, according to the Black tarot card readers. Because if you read enough of them, and I have had too much time, if you read enough of them, they're going, you won, it's taken care of. They're trashing of your reputation. You know, the people asked a couple questions and they realized this wasn't true. Anyway, so here we go. Excuse me, I should have had it before. And then I'm going to sketch it now. But actually, what I should actually sketch is what everybody looks like. Because I stopped sketching what we look like. Okay, here we go. The third, the fourth, the fifth, and last night would have been the fifth. Okay. So on the third, when I sketched the United States, the heart chakra was depressed. Okay. And then we went ahead and we did the mantras, and we were able to get the frequency blue, which is throat chakra, and it's flowing very nicely. And then we have a nice heart there. And then we have Florida, Nile green, which is the color of healing, which is also the part of the United States that corresponds in Feng Shui with helpful friends. And then this is still the third? Yep, it's still the third. We did our work. No, that was the fourth. This was initially on the third, and this was after we did the work. And that word is called jubilo, means joy. And we were spinning in the correct direction to anchor joy. And then people started to see turtles. And turtles is the animal in Mayan culture that's the most evolved, and it has to do with joy. This is the United States. This is good. And that was the third. And then on the fourth, this is what we saw, which is very good. It had kept the frequency, whatever. And then on the fifth, which would have been yesterday morning, this is how we were at 12 noon. No, 8:44, no, 12. This is us at 12 noon, the United States. I have great notes. And this heart is already not depressed, it's black. I mean, it's red, anger, rage. We do still have this. And then we have spaceships. And this is the first time this has happened. We have people that supervise the planet, which I never believed in before. And I have only really recently kind of accepted and recently felt comfortable enough to talk about it. But those spaceships are from the Great White Brotherhood, the Galactic Federation that supervises planet Earth, so that the other galactic bad guys don't really trash us in 2 seconds flat. And they were there defending. This is yesterday at 12 o'clock, which we had a meeting, the Mantrista movement online, to do healings. So we went ahead and we put a lot of ice on the United States to reduce the fire so that there wouldn't be violence. Did you notice that with as frustrated and angry as everybody has been about the elections, did you notice there was no violence? People walk across the street and there's violence. And we got all of a sudden this election where everybody's at each other's throat and there's no violence. And I'm going to say that I'm very pleased that I do believe that the work that we did, having to do with icing down the other dimensions of the United States, is what controlled that violence. But we didn't just ice down the country. We iced down the people. And we particularly iced down Washington, D.C. And then at 8 o'clock at night, last night, after the elections was won, the 5th, correct, we had black magic in the center of the country. That level of magic is usually done by off-planet rage, Washington, D.C. area. And then this is a type of black magic to control. It's like you throw a net over somebody and you pull it, and then the person's in the net and you're controlling them. This is what was last night. And then we did the mantras. We iced down the country. We iced down Washington, D.C., the Senate, and whatever. And we iced down particularly the people that would, because of their anger, would say, we're trashing the results of the elections because da 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 da. We iced them down because there were people that had a plan. And I think that's been in the news. They had a plan. Doesn't matter if Trump wins, we've got documents and he's not going to be able to take over. We ice down these people. We don't need to identify who they are. We just ice down the people that are angry enough that they would want to stop the duly elected president from taking over the presidency. And then it was really nice. This is what we got when we finished the purification. This is like an Indian medicine wheel, which is where everything is balanced. I don't know a lot about the Indian medicine wheel. And I don't honestly know a lot about this other than that this is a wonderful thing. I haven't had time to it. And you'll notice it today. There's no emotional violence. There is depression and people on the left, people that are losers from the election, not that they're losers, crying. But you're not seeing people in a rage. And when we checked last night, the people that had a document that they were going to pull out and say, he can't be president, amongst that group, and I don't know who they are, I don't care who they are, we're looking to balance the elements, but I could see that they were saying, several of them, I'm not going to do this. The country has spoken, and I'm not going against it. Now, how would that happen? We didn't mess with their minds at all. That's not, free will is important. What we're doing is balancing the elements, and then everybody can think clearly and make the decisions that they want to make. It's their choice. If you don't have extra fire, you can't run around wanting to kill people, stop people, put them in jail. You can't. If you have somebody in a rage and you throw a bucket of cold water at them, they're not going to continue with the rage. You know that already. Well, that's Chinese medicine. Water puts out fire. Cancer is a disease of extra fire. I don't know how they work that with barley water. I don't know how they work that in Chinese medicine. That's a statement in Chinese medicine. Water puts out fire. I am going to draw the United States. I'm going to sketch the energies now, today, right now, and then I'm going to sketch us as a collective consciousness. I have not done that, and I should have continued to do it because I wouldn't have been so shocked by what's coming up with people, the wanting to die, not wanting to live, not wanting to get up, not wanting to do anything, not caring. So here we have the United States. I'm not sure which pens I'm going to need. And what you have is, oh, this is good. This is green, which is the color of healing, and it's also the color of the heart chakra. So we have that going on. We have green in the heart chakra. It's counterclockwise, which is rooting. So we're rooting a healing heart energy frequency. Oh, what I didn't finish telling you was the Great White Brotherhood that showed up with the spaceships above the United States did something that I've never seen them do. And what they did was be there and say, don't you dare. And they were talking about other off-planet forces that wanted to come in. Oh, now Francis has gone crazy. Why on earth would why would I make that up? Oh, and it matches what the guys, all those ex-intelligence guys that are on Twitter, on X, and they're talking, it matches what they're saying. We're not going to look too good to the world if we are not, and we are not going to be the people leading the pack, leading the countries having to do with contact with the off-planet galactic beings. We're going to be in the back of the line. So when you go, oh, Francis, I'm going to go, darn, they're not ready yet. Okay. A little bit late. So anyway, so the Great White Brotherhood was up here and said, Anyway, we continued to work. Oh, that was what was important. I almost forgot. When we continued to work last night, we found that potential Yellowstone volcano which is not a potential, it's a congestion of fire underneath that area. And we went ahead and we cleared it. We had a lot of help. And we think we made a huge difference in terms of it, that being a potential eruption that could basically end the United States. And science says that. So now I'm going to, so the United States looks great. There's nothing in it that doesn't look great. And again, we reduce the fire. So there's no big fighting. What people are doing is crying. And that hysterical crying is a good thing. Don't stop it. Let them be hysterical. Don't make fun of them. That's a volume of emotion in them. And the Trump derangement syndrome is somebody who is usually really, really nice, and they're so sweet and they say all the right things and they want to give everything to the people that are poor. But they've never really dealt with their real reaction to many things in their life, not just this political stuff. And hating Trump is a wonderful outlet for all of that rage that really has to do with something else. So let's let them express it and not make too much fun of them. And then that maybe they can get back to center. Very important to handle what the planet is going through now, to handle it with a lot of multidimensional savvy. Because the main reason why we have to be savvy about the other dimensions is because the veils between dimensions have lifted, and the veils between this planet and other planets have lifted, and we're going to have to deal with all that stuff. So we might as well become more sophisticated, which really basically means more knowledgeable. Anyway, I have talked my way through the entire hour. So we will not be doing a mantra, note, but we are going to sketch the consciousness. Give me a second, I apologize. Now I need a sheet of paper. Give me a second. Now this is the collective consciousness of this particular group. Okay. Yeah, well, that's not going to help us much because, okay. This is us, and we have 3 levels of protection of the heart, the green, healing. We don't have the 3rd because we don't need it anymore. What does that mean? I have no idea. I have no idea what that means. So, our 3rd eye is completely in terms of 1, which has a lot of people depressed because they're able to see stuff. They're able to see stuff that they've done wrong. That's a Tortuguero prophecy. We have the spaceships that are not going to be leaving until after Trump is installed. That's the information I'm getting right now. The Galactics will not be leaving until after he's installed, which means that there's still danger, that some people that have too much fire try to override the results of the elections. That protection is going to be there. This looks pretty good. So then why did I get all those people? Well, this is a sketch of this group. So I'm not sure what I should have asked for in order to be able to document on paper what it is that too many people in the 2 o'clock chat don't want to live. So I am going to put together the class where we're going to deal with a mantra, the wanting to die. It's a good mantra. It's very simple. Even though I want to die, I love and accept myself. And wanting to die and suicide is a result of the excess fire. You either get angry at other people and go at them, or you swallow that excess fire, and it pulls you down so much you don't want to live. You need that fire running through your body to vitalize you. Anyway, I have overtalked. I'm very happy about the elections. And I'm excited about the fact that the people that appear like they're going to be running the country are people that are like Elon Musk. Elon Musk can hear all of us. We're millions of people. How can he do that? I don't know. Maybe it's part of the age of Aquarius. He can hear all of us. Trump cares for all of us. Not sure he can hear all of us. I'm not sure it's necessary that he hear all of us, as long as he hires the kind of people that have the kind of intentions we want, such as RFK. I know this sounds very political, but actually, I have a degree in political science. Um, that made me a better courtesan, and I'm not joking. Okay. It also made me aware that politics is honestly, it's to entertain the masses. What is it? Karl Marx, it said religion was the opium of the masses. Politics is the opium of the masses. Keep them arguing, and they're not watching what the bad guys are doing. I've talked enough. I'm Francis Fox, and I hope that I become your favorite psychic spy. And I hope that you listen, even though I may say a lot of things that is just like great your ears and make you, that's not, come on. Just keep listening so that you can become spiritually sophisticated and know when there's troubles in your family, the kind of troubles that we've not had on the planet before, because I think until now we have not had the issues of zombies. And that was foretold in the Bible, the Mayans, the dolphins. Okay? You need that extra information. And thank you for joining me. We'll be here back again on Friday.
We are ending a cycle on planet Earth, and it is time that you understand your relationship to good and evil in the history of the planet. I have a story to tell you. It may help to explain a lot of things in your life, but also help to give perspective on the history of the planet. It may change the way you view the transformation planet Earth is going through now. I had a session years ago with a client who was a really nice man, but with considerable darkness in his life. I asked how I could help him, and he said he did not know. The time with me was not his idea. I said I would look at his planetary history to find the most important information that would help him to understand himself. I went back to his life in Lemuria, the civilization before Atlantis. An angel appeared to him saying, "We need your help." He responded in that lifetime, "I'm willing to help. What do you need?" They said what they needed was difficult, and he responded that he was willing. They said a darkness had come over the planet, and most souls were too weak to handle the darkness. He repeated he would help. What did the angels need from him? They said they needed him to take on the darkness, as many souls were too weak. He responded, "I will do it." They told him it would be hard because he would not remember, and he might get lost in the darkness. He said he would do it for the others. Widen your lens, and it might help you to understand the violence and conflict today on planet Earth. Perhaps the most important aspect of your life in relations to others is not that you are Jewish or Christian or American or French or Iranian. Perhaps the most important aspect of you is that you are from planet Earth, and there are others out there that are different and have different intentions from those who are from here. Perhaps now we really need to understand what is going on. We are in a final battle between light and dark on planet Earth. We need to widen our lens to know who we are and who our true enemies are. We are multi-dimensional beings. We have parts of ourselves in several dimensions at a time. We are energetically structured like the Tree of Life, which is the backbone of our multi-dimensional system. Our individual sacred Tree of Life is our chakra system. Its central axis is the trunk of the tree of your life. It is your holy grail, with its funnel-like structure at the top, drawing in off-planet energies, and a funnel-like shape at the bottom, drawing in Earth energies. Unfortunately, the top of your Tree of Life will be filled with the energy of Xibalba, what the Mayans call the path to the underworld, and scientists call the Dark Rift because of the alignments of the planets, which complete on December 21st, 2012. Unfortunately, the bottom of your Tree of Life, your Holy Grail, is already susceptible to the energies from Xibalba due to Earth's broken Brahmavara. Who is going to take on the darkness from the broken Brahmavara in the Gulf of Mexico? Who is going to take on the darkness that will enter the planet via the supermassive black hole that is aligning with planet Earth? Who will go to war to process the violence and conflict that is pouring onto the planet now? Who will kill and maim and be killed and injured to protect those of us who are not strong enough to process those energies? If it is true that Jerusalem is to be the site of the final battle between light and dark, good and evil, then the peoples who spiritually chose to carry the dark energy poured onto the planet are sacrificing themselves for all of us. Jerusalem, Israelis, Palestinians, Colombians, Iranians, all willing to battle for all of us souls, sacrificing themselves by processing the energies of conflict and violence so that we can be free. As in Lemurian times, a darkness is now entering the planet, and there will be souls who will sacrifice themselves for the rest of us.